Ricardo Pepi, because he came on at halftime for Groningen and ends up having an assist. And when I saw the assist initially, I was like, he passes to the guy from like 40 yards away, and then the guy dribbles. It doesn't feel like a proper assist until, Chuck, you see that he's the one that actually anticipated the bad back pass, and he's the one that set up the whole play.
Which is the whole thing.
It's the whole thing. It doesn't happen without Ricardo Pepi's anticipation, and I like that he's sniffing things out instead of trying to react all the time. I like that with a lot of players that are anticipatory and not reactionary. So good play by Ricardo Pepi. And yes, he's using his brain to make that happen. I thought that was a tremendous first start for him to make that type of influence for Groningen, who had been struggling scoring goals and still are. They only won 1-0, but still an important win for that club, Charlie.
As a striker, when things aren't going well for you, you have to figure out other ways to impact the game. And why Greg Berhalter has always been a big fan of Ricardo Pepi is because of his ability to press. And you saw defensive pressure is what allowed him to win the ball back and then play it to get that assist. It wasn't the most beautiful assist, but it was winning the ball back for your team and directly going towards goal.
Right.
That's something that you don't get with all the other strikers in this pool. So in terms of getting himself going and earning respect within the group, it's by doing the dirty work. And so he came on as a halftime substitute. I've been there before. Literally my second game in France, I came on as a halftime substitute. And then I started from that point on. So I think this is that moment for Ricardo Pepi where he's going to start from here on out. He's proven himself that he's going to work for the team. And now he's just got to continue to run with it.
No, I thought it was great. And he came on again at halftime. I'm trying to see when that goal happened, because to have that type of impact for your squad, just going to give you confidence. And it's 71st minute it happens. So he's been on for about 25 minutes. And for him to have that type of impact, it just gets everybody else to buy in why they went and got him. Right. And so that buy-in from your teammates is really important too. Because if you go there right away and people are like, that dude's shit. Like it's hard to win that. That first impression is hard to win back, or it takes a lot longer to make that happen. But hey, Heath Pearce is back with us.
Yeah, he's back from his Estevez rant.
Yeah, you're off on this Nico Estevez. We've moved on past that. We're talking about Ricardo Pepi.
Yeah,
now,
good, because whatever I was saying, I was probably deserving of being booted off for a minute and just sort of rethink about what I was saying. Come back when you're in a better spot. But by the way, Ricardo Pepi, the competition that he has up top is that they brought in a guy from, I believe it was Bielefeld, maybe Erzberg Aue. I can't remember which club he was at, but they paid for him. I think they paid over $1 million for him as a striker to bring him in just a month ago. I think they came in June or July. They brought in a striker, and Holland, they play the 4-3-3. You got one spot for an actual high striker. And so that's why if you go back to those comments that were made that there's no reason they can't both play 45 minutes and things like that, it was based on the fact that they brought in a striker. And if you're that striker, you're going, hey, what's going on here, man? You guys just bought me. You told me you wanted me. Now you're bringing in this other guy that's a U.S. international. Obviously, I think Ricardo Pepi is a better player and is going to win that out in the end. But there is going to be some cause for concern, but also an opportunity for Ricardo Pepi to go in there and win that spot and be a starter for these games. And if you win that battle, and I think that's going to make him day to day a better player, because that battle is between two relatively young players. Vying for that top striker position. Maybe you could throw one on the wing, but they both want to be strikers.
Now let's move to, and I appreciate your insight on that, Heath. I'm going to move it on to Jordan Pefok abruptly to Union Berlin. And what I loved about this game, he played 75 minutes. They won 1-0. As I mentioned before, they're on top of the table now in the Bundesliga, which really speaks to Urs Fischer, their manager, and what he's put together with this team and the belief that he has so early on in this campaign. But he missed a penalty, Jordan Pefok. What was interesting was it wasn't a penalty that he himself earned. You know how sometimes you earn the penalty? I got this. I'm not giving up this ball. I'm going to put it down. Charlie did that all the time. This is mine. I'm going to do it. And it wasn't like that. It was a handball or something that was just kind of – and Pefok was the one that stepped up and took it. Now, he took a very terrible penalty, but I like the fact that his teammate – and it got saved, but his teammates deferred to him. And that he had the confidence to step up and take it. And that the team still went on and made a difference. Jordan Pefok, for me, is definitely going to be in the team. I feel like he might be – I don't know if he starts. He's a situational guy. We don't need to get into that again. But I just wanted to mention that he made the right move by leaving Switzerland, where he was a Golden Boot winner, and going and taking a risk. And Urs Fischer has gotten a lot out of him, and I hope that plays well for the rest of us. Okay, now There's a tweet that I wanted to go back to, Heath, before we move on from the number 9s and get into other positions on the field.
I hope it's not from me.
It is from you.
Okay.
And it's about Jesus Ferreira. There was a guy that said, this is at Soccer Alt, Kevin Morris, who says the thing with Ferreira is that a group of moderately influential dorks on Twitter,
that's Charlie.
I think he's talking about Charlie, decided that Ferreira wasn't good. And then their entire brand of being moderately influential dorks was dependent on that being true. So now they'll devote limitless energy to prove that point.
Yeah.
I don't think this isn't isolated to Jesus Ferreira. I think this happens in a lot of different
That's
ways.
a general theme, generally towards any MLS players or any ideas. Like if you look at the way in which people are arguing for Sargent right now, no one's watching Sargent play 90 minutes. Nobody is. They're just seeing his goals. They're not seeing whether he holds the ball up well, whether there's runs, how he adds to the team. They're just watching goals. And I get that. That's a solid argument because he's scoring goals, which means it's undeniable that he's having an impact on games. But when you look at certain things, or you're talking about Jordan Pifok, or you're talking about Haji Wright, no one's watching Haji Wright play week in and week out. They're watching the games that they want to play. Yeah. They're watching what's readily available to them, right? And so when you think about Jesus Ferreira, you're going to think about big chances missed. We go back to Pifok and his big chance missed, or against Mexico. We look at those types of things, but it's not over this large sample size of like, have they gotten better? Are they improving? What is the impact that they have outside of their goals and assists, Jimmy? So with regard to Jesus Ferreira, yes, he has missed a lot of opportunities, but he's 21 years old, and he's getting better week in and week out. It's not to say he can't become more clinical. He can't become whatever. He can. But we are going to always look for reasons, or people are going to look for reasons to say he can't do it, or this will never translate to a higher level, or it's against MLS. Look how crappy the defenders are.
I think it's more of Ricardo Pepi was there at the same time, and that Ricardo Pepi was a star and not Jesus Ferreira. So how can you, in a lot of people's minds, say all of a sudden Jesus Ferreira is leaps and bounds ahead of Ricardo Pepi? And it's simply down to confidence, right? And then opportunity. So Jesus Ferreira had to defer to Ricardo Pepi. Everyone was trying to play to the point man who ultimately scored all the goals. Now that Ricardo Pepi's gone, you can move Jesus Ferreira to that position, and he's no longer the player who's creating all those goals. He's the one who has to finish. So there's a big difference.
Right.
It allows him to grow in different ways. Ultimately, though, both are very different players. And I think when Ricardo Pepi finds his confidence again, and if it gets going sooner than later, then Ricardo Pepi has a very good chance of leading the line in the first game of the World Cup.
Yeah, it's interesting conversation. I appreciate you bringing up that tweet, and you tagged me on it as well. I do think that.
And then you told me not to tag you on it, Jimmy. You're like, leave me.
I was like, you know what?
He's like, dude, leave me out of your internet stuff, dude. He was like, dude, it's Sunday. I'm with my family.
Yeah,
I'm not getting involved in your crap.
Into some, yeah, you're throwing out bait, and so and I know what kind of flies you're trying to attract, or moths to the light. So,
but it is true, Jimmy. Real quick on that, it is true in a lot of ways. And look, I don't necessarily do that with regard to our U.S. men's national team, but I certainly do that on players on the fringe of who I watch. When I think about players that are in a team, right? Say you're doing a Champions League game, you're focusing on 3, 4, 5 guys. It's easy to just take what you've read or what you've seen in a small sample size and throw a left back or a center back or somebody random. That's just the way our brains work, trying to process information. So it's not a knock on anybody. And I agree with Charlie's sentiments about Ricardo Pepi and his dynamics. But Jesus Ferreira is continuing to put himself in a good spot or in a conversation to be respected. Charlie, and the reason I say that is Charlie, again, I always go back to when Charlie and all of us were in the national team together. Charlie was just potential then, and people on the outside could easily just go, Charlie doesn't have it because he didn't score.
Right.
And then Charlie goes on and scores, and now you go, Charlie's
got
amazing.
It. He's good.
He's got it.
Good.
Play that guy.
He's starting number 9.
But what I'm seeing is to judge it based on a highlight that comes over or a missed chance from Charlie doesn't tell the whole story of Charlie's development, of where he's at, the potential that he has, and what his upside is. They're just basing it on like, oh, Charlie didn't score. Charlie no good. Charlie scoring. Charlie's the best striker we've ever had in national team history, right? And there's a big
look
delta.
At the confidence of him doing the stanky leg at Azteca. Look at that guy. That's who I want representing me in the number 9 spot. I mean, you can build all these narratives from these different moments and actions. And I agree with you, Heath, that what's interesting is if you get excited about somebody online, you immediately get shut down by a certain sect. It's not the same people every time. You could be excited about a European-based player or whatever, MLS-based player, but there's always somebody like, that guy sucks. you're like, God, man, I just want to be excited about our player pool and some of the players that we have and their development, their continued development, the fact that they're continuing to produce. So that gets a little bit interesting. And then what I find, and we've learned this, all three of us at some point, that sometimes, and the algorithms prove it as well, that negativity sells. So when we go out there and slam somebody, that's probably going to hit the algorithm. More people are going to engage with it. And then you start to kind of buy, this is what I need to say to get the engagement that I'm looking for, to make sure that I'm getting that dopamine hit, that I'm relevant. I mean, this isn't, I'm not telling any, I'm not
this is human nature. Jimmy, I posted a video saying Chicharito would never on a guy doing a dancing up to a penalty kick right now. People are loving it because misery loves company. It's contextual. It's relevant. It's the guy dancing up to kick a penalty. People are like, yeah, I can.
Don't act like that's a normal dance.
Really? This one. Up to
the
ball.
That ball.
Yeah.
It's all on the hips. It's all on the hips.
You know.
Anyway,
I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, of course you did. And it's getting traction because it's funny, right? But yeah. So anyway, that we can unpack that at another time. Moving on to our last real number 9 in the thing. Josh Sargent didn't play this weekend due to the postponement of games in the UK. There was a player named Haji Wright who plays in Turkey. His team lost 1-0. He played the full 90 minutes. He got 3 shots, but none on goal. And obviously, that's what people care about, man. You got to hit the back of the net. Otherwise, you suck. All right, Haji Wright, just throwing that out there.